and the members of their delegation. Also, let me recognize the presence of Excellency Ambassador Dr. Muhammad Gada, the Assistant Secretary General Programs for COMISA, and the staff members of COMISA. Also, let me recognize the presence of Practice Manager at the World Bank and also the team from the World Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. So we are in day 2 of Ascent Week, which will focus on regional platform to support countries. There will be 4 sessions. Each session will include presentations and will be followed by a moderated panel discussion. Let me start right away with session number 1 of the day 2 of Ascent Week. And this session will introduce participants to Trade and Development Bank group and its role in Ascent program through Ascent Regional Energy Access Finance Platform. And as you are aware, Trade and Development Bank is one of the institutions of COMISA and is playing a very critical role in financing infrastructure and also trade. So by mobilizing private sector finance alongside trade and development bank groups, we are going to have some presentation from them, and this presentation will focus on the finance mechanisms and also will focus on lending and result-based grants, and also Ascent REEF aims to reach, as you are aware, the Ascent REEF aims to reach 7 million people and 125,000 entrepreneurs with electricity, and also 2 million people with clean cooking while reducing greenhouse gas emissions and also creating jobs. Leveraging the strengths of Trade and Development Bank and Trade and Development Fund, Ascent REEF supports both large and small companies, underserved market and women entrepreneurs, making distributed renewable energy a central driver of Mission 300's goal to deliver electricity access to 300 million Africans by 2030. Having said that, let me now invite Mr. James Mahungu. I think, is it? Yes, James Mahungu is from World. The presentations from the Trade and Development Bank. Over to you so that you can invite those who are going to make the presentation and also the panel discussions. Because the way this session is structured, it will be a presentation from the bank by 6 people, and then it will immediately be followed by a panel discussion, which will be moderated by James. James, over to you.
Great, thanks so much. Welcome everyone again. My name is James Knuckles. I'm a senior energy specialist at the World Bank, based in Nairobi, and I'm very pleased to welcome on stage an amazing distinguished panel consisting of leaders from the Trade and Development Bank Group and our colleague James Macho from Empower. So come on up. It is an honor to be on stage with this team. And I say that from really the bottom of my heart and also experience working very closely with these colleagues over the past couple of years on the Ascent Reef program. So to my left, we have Tarja Mbambazi, the Treasury Officer at the Trade and Development Bank Group. She manages the TDB's key relationships with development partners, including the World Bank, of course, and is the program coordinator for the Ascent Reef program. To her left is Alfred Kalumbi, an investment officer with the Project and Infrastructure Finance Group at Trade and Development Bank. Within the Ascent Reef program, he's working on the larger investment deals with DRE companies. To his left is Doreen Mashu. She leads SME lending at the Trade and Development Bank Group. She brings more than 15 years of experience across US and Africa to this role and is leading the SME financing part of the Ascent Reef project. To her left is Andrew Bamuje, the program manager at the Trade and Development Fund, which is a subsidiary of the Trade and Development Bank Group. Within the Ascent Reef program, Andrew is managing, within the Ascent Reef, within the Ascent overall program, Andrew is managing two of our RBF programs, one with the Ascent Reef project and the other one focused on Sudan. To his left is Martin Kabenge. He's an environmental and social safeguard specialist at the Trade and Development Bank Group and is leading the overall environmental, social, and management system at the Trade and Development Bank Group. And lastly, to his left, we have James Macho, bringing the voice of the private sector to this panel this morning. So James is the country director for Zambia at Empower, and we'll be hearing from him during our panel presentation, during the panel discussion after the TDB presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tarja to begin the presentation now on the Trade and Development Bank Group. Thank you.
Or we go back.
Sorry, we're clicking on the button, but the slides aren't moving. There we go. Is that working now? Yes.
Oh, okay, this side. Okay. Good morning, distinguished COMESA delegates, World Bank colleagues, and all delegates, all protocol observed. As introduced, my name is Tarja Mbambazi, and I work with the Trade and Development Bank. In full, that is the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank. We are an implementing partner under the Ascent program in the Regional Energy Access window, and so we'll be just taking you through what we are currently doing as the TDB group and some of the work most specifically we are doing under Ascent. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay. There's a... Okay. Sorry about that. So as TDB, we are a multilateral development finance institution established under the auspices of the Preferential Trade Area for Eastern and Southern Africa. We were established in 1985 to advance sustainable development for the member states that we serve. So basically, the PTA for Eastern and Southern Africa, which we now know as COMESA, is what founded the Trade and Development Bank in 1985 as its financing arm to be able to support regional integration, economic growth, and prosperity of our member countries through the delivery of financing services. So you may say, really, we are a baby of COMESA, though we have evolved over the years to now we have member states beyond the COMESA region. Okay. Wow. So right there you can see we currently operate in 26 countries. So each and every one of these countries is a shareholder of the Trade and Development Bank. So they have put in capital to be able to support the operations of the bank, right from the north, from Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea, down strategic reason to go beyond the Eastern and Southern African region. So we have Ghana and Senegal that have joined the bank as member countries. And also more recently we have Angola, which has recently also joined the bank. So basically we have the sustainable development agenda of each and every one of the countries, a fund advisor. And all of this really is in risk more efficient and agile in the delivery window. We do that from 1 up to 3 years, but we also provide more longer term finance, 1 up to 3 years, but we also provide more longer term finance. That is our project and infrastructure finance arm, a project and infrastructure finance arm, and we give loans for up to 15 years to be able to support each and every one of the countries that we operate in. Speed of decision making, we are very agile and we are very flexible. The Ascent project, we are supporting the private sector. So DRE and clean cooking companies, we provide direct lending, as well as we have also part of the capital that we receive from the World Bank will be used to invest in Zafiri. This is an equity platform.
All right, thank you very much, Taja, for that introduction. Good morning, distinguished delegates. As earlier mentioned, my name is Alfred Kalumbi. I work in the Project and Infrastructure Unit of the TDB. The presentation, let me just highlight a few things in terms of what we do as Project and Infrastructure Finance. So we provide a number of financing solutions and a number of financing structures, ranging from senior debt, mezzanine. These are long-term in nature to support some of the projects that we are financing. In terms of sectors, we look at a wide range of sectors, mining. We also look at soft infrastructure in terms of hospitality and other sectors that I think one of the main challenges you'll find is to do with liquidity and working capital. Last month, we traveled to Mozambique on a DD mission, and we had traveled to a province in Nampula, where we were visiting one of the companies we are earmarking to finance. And we were taken around. We went as far as Naisha province and Kwamba. But what we had found out is, due to these constraints, some of their shops and outlets do not have stock. So what does this mean? It means that there's a lost opportunity for business, and there's an opportunity there to these challenges. And also because of the business model that most of these DRE companies are implementing, where they have pay-as-you-go models, where they have lease-to-own models, the cash conversion cycle is much longer. So they have cash that is tied in receivables. So with this financing, we bring in solutions to unlock some of the receivables so that the clients and our borrowers are able to meet their financing needs to import their inventory and also to meet their day-to-day operational costs. So the offering we have under this window, it varies, and we try as much as possible to match it with the profile of the receivables, so the repayment period could range from depending on the profile of those receivables. In terms of how much one could be able to access, we can advance some hauler systems under pay-as-you-go. It's targeted at productive use of energy appliances to provide for extended period of a moratorium period so that we allow the construction to take place, provide time to the activation of users under the particular system. And also the benefit of this extended repayment period is to spread out the capex affordability. At what price point do we enter the market? What tariff would make sense? So there's a balancing act in terms of ensuring that the capex are managed and spread over a period of time, and also users are able to afford to pay and access the energy as a service. This slide is talking to some of the discussions, and I think it's quite important that we also go through this, is what discussions do we have in these investment committees? What are our pain points as lenders, and what is it that can be done to help us deploy a lot more capital in terms of financing the sector? So one of the main risks you'd find in terms of the DRA business is in terms of the credit risk and the payment risk in the business. I was reading an article earlier this morning. On average, the collection rates for DRE in terms of solar home systems and some of these solutions ranges from 65 to 80%. So there's quite a risk there, and this is just average figures. I know there are players in the market that are doing better, can achieve better numbers, but it points to the underlying issue that we still face in the sector that we need to address. And part of the mitigating measures we're looking at as TDB is deployment of first loss capital, just being clever in terms of how we structure some of these solutions. Through the use of TA, we've been able to mitigate some of these risks by providing additional cover in the form of debt service reserve accounts. So these are just part of the solutions that we are looking at. Opportunity to explore and discuss and engage with other partners to have insurance provided to cover for this credit risk. The second aspect is to do with the foreign exchange risk. As you would know, the capital we're deploying would be in hard currency. However, the receipts that these companies would be receiving would be in local currency. So that mismatch creates this risk that we're talking about. And we've thought of how we could manage this by partnering local financial institutions, by providing local currency solutions. So the measure as instruments, the pain point has been on affordability. And I think the good news is based on these engagements, we're also seeing some concessional funding that are going towards some of these solutions. So we really hope we'll be able to deploy some of these solutions to hedge and also at an affordable rate. The other aspect, I think I've touched on this, liquidity is quite key. Fast moving, receivables are tied in mid-long-term contracts. Day operational needs and also your supplies. And the other aspect is on around the technology that is being deployed sector. First of all, through us as a group, leveraging the subsidiaries we have, such as the TDF, what is key is to offer, and the beauty about this transaction is talking about the risk mitigation strategies we're talking about. So this was financed in local currency. TDB participated to the sum of 25 billion, but this was dispersed in local currency. And we're already seeing the impact this is having and supporting our customers in the sector. And the other one is we also are working with Burn Manufacturing. They are looking at providing clean cooking solutions, and this has been financed on the basis of a carbon pre-credit financing mechanism. We are providing a facility of $30 million US, and this will really go a long way to and examples how we've been able to deploy our funding to support companies in the sector. Without any further remarks, let me invite my colleague Doreen to come in also on the SME side. Thank you very much.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you to my colleagues who have made the presentation so far. So my name is Doreen Mashu. I'm leading our SME lending efforts at TDB. The SME lending unit was formed about 6 years ago to respond to the need of the billions of dollars that we all understand are lacking in the SME financing space. We provide lending solutions both directly to SMEs as well as through financial intermediaries. Those would be microfinance institutions, non-bank financial institutions, fintechs, and any second-tier banks that focus on SME lending. As you can see, our ticket size is up to $10 million. So we're really trying to fill a gap that TDB Group wouldn't traditionally do. Those are the very small ticket sizes between $1 and $10 million. And we do have security requirements. So we need a security cover. We need non-performing loans of less than 10% and some equity contribution as we are assessing these SMEs for investment. As you can see, our priority sectors include energy access, which brings us all here today. So given that we're working within the confines of a traditional DFI, we have developed a process that we think is better suited for SMEs. So I'm showing on the screen our investment process, which includes application screening, due diligence, and getting to final approval. We ideally would like to do this within 6 months of receiving the application. Of course, if you ask the SMEs, they may want us to do it even faster, which is something we're working on. But we believe that this process is fit for purpose for SMEs who require funding and financing very quickly, because usually they come to us when it's really a dire situation. So we try to react and respond to their needs adequately. Our instrument, which my colleague Taja spoke about earlier. So our participation in Ascent is really to advance energy access, particularly to vulnerable populations like women and youth. As the SME program within the bank, we intentionally embed impact in everything that we do. So we're the ones who are actively advancing the investments to youth-owned businesses, as well as advancing women's economic empowerment, and also through Ascent, ensuring that women get free time to be involved in economic activities, which without energy access, without clean energy access, could be a big issue for them. So these are some of the opportunities we're seeing in the sector. Of course, there's a bias towards solar home systems and productive use equipment. That's where we have our biggest pipeline. We're also seeing a lot of clean cooking opportunities into that space, as well as seeking partner financial institutions to work with in the sector. That's an area of growth that we're seeing. We need to reach out more, or we need to partner more on that, so we get more financial institutions that we can do. And in terms of partnerships, we're really looking forward to increasing our partnering. We know Comesa is ready to partner with us. We've had conversations in the past, and we hope to take those forward. But we're also partnering with other associations like the Africa Mini Grid Developers Association, like Get Invest, to make sure that we're bringing in SMEs that are ready for funding, for our funding, but also to partner with them on the technical assistance side to make sure that the SMEs come to us while a bit more ready to receive our debt financing. So we are also, in terms of scaling up, looking at companies that work in the region. So a lot of companies, and you'll hear from one of our clients, Empower, who's here today, that when we started talking to them, they were in one country, but now they're in 6 countries. So we realized that if we work with countries that are in more than one country, we can reach impact quite quickly. So moving on to Empower, which is our client that we're showcasing today, some of the things that really stood out for us with this opportunity includes the fact that they were providing energy solutions to government workers here in Zambia and deducting payments directly from payroll. So that meant that, you know, the risk of non-payment, non-repayment is low, and that was attractive to us. Of course, they have growth potential. I've mentioned that they went from 1 country to serving 6 countries now. And they really have community-level impact through their community energy hubs that are really multi-purpose hubs in the rural and peri-urban and rural areas that provide energy access to communities. So those are the things that attracted us to Empower. You can see on the screen some of the products that they have and that we are supporting them do by giving them a working capital line for them to be able to purchase inventory. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll hand it over to my colleague who will speak more about our Trade and Development Fund and the grants that are available.
My name is Andrew Bamuje, and I sit with, or I serve at the Trade and Development Fund. The TDF is about 6 years old, and it's a concessional window for the TDP group. Basically, what we do. Thank you. So the Trade and Development Fund is the concessional window for the Trade and Development Bank Group. Similar to the bank, which is the largest subsidiary within the group and is 40 years old, we're just about 6 years old, but we do share shareholders with the same 26 member states. So as you see it here, we notice that many of you shareholders in the Trade and Development Fund. We're here to ensure that we serve you with the concessionality that the TDF brings. There's basically 4 or 5 divisions or work streams within the TDF, starting with the concession of funding. Concession of funding is strictly for member states. So we're structuring transactions to help member states that are currently challenged with debt, unsustainable debt. And we're looking at a couple of instruments, including SDG-linked bonds, and a couple of other instruments to restructure difficult debt. On the other hand, we have de-risking instruments. We're currently advanced in a conversation with the UN group, in particular the UNCDF, structure a Pan-African de-risking facility to help with the challenges of increasing access to finance. The programs management, we are establishing ourselves as the go-to partner in the region for development partners who cannot fund commercially, but have capital that is attractive for impact investing, including partners like the World Bank, the MasterCard Foundation, the Trademark Africa Group, and a couple of others. So we crowd in that funding, we structure it, and we deploy it for a couple of interventions. And a lot of that is showcased on our website. And of course, we, on the group, host the technical assistance facilities. We do have quite a bit of funding, I think now in excess of $100 million from the World Bank, from IFD, and a couple of other global funders who have funding that helps us to the extent of what Alfred and Doreen were sharing, to de-risk transactions and increase their bankability to be able to attract more funding. Speaking to the RBF, we manage 2 RBFs, probably now in excess of $100 million, if you include the TA components. We just launched the RBF, Ascent Sudan RBF, in May, following the World Bank's approval. We'll share a lot more when we get into the panel conversation, but our first RBF was 12 million under the first Ascent line of credit to TDB, and that's just reached a grant award. So we've just selected 6 global and regional players that will help us reach 8 markets, address over 4 technologies, and a good mix of beneficiaries across our region. And we do hope to fundraise more to reach all the 26 members. The RBF component or concept or instrument needs to be looked at not as a standalone, instrument. And I think the greatest opportunity is at the member state level, where what you're already doing. We structured our World Bank funded RBF at the early stage level with many of the SMEs where we struggle to see throughput because of weak markets. Alfred talked about the conversations we had in Mozambique recently, where away from a city of Nampula, 600 kilometers away, you do have an affordability challenge. So you have willingness to buy, but there is no capacity to buy. And we've seen that in many of those markets, without an RBF structure, some of those markets will never be developed. So we see RBF as an early stage instrument to go in and catalyze weak markets, which then enables us to crowd in commercial credit, because the market becomes attractive to DRE companies, getting numbers coming through, because the RBF enables you to test your commercial models, which then commercial credit can layer on. We'll talk about this later on in more detail, but basically this slide shows you the extent to which we can typically structure it. So, of fragility in Sudan, the affordability is really low. You may need then to push in a greater subsidy to be able to attract private sector companies to get into Sudan at the moment. And in the better markets, you may have a lower subsidy, but still be able to achieve scale. And the last slide for me. Right. I talked about Sudan, so I'll just go to the last slide. Oops, I thought I had a slide around. Yes, that's the last slide for me. So the process for us is a very efficient one. Yesterday we talked about the leverage of technology. We've partnered with Odyssey for our end-to-end project management on the RBF. It's a 6-step process. We qualify companies. We've just qualified over 100 companies that are bidding to work in Sudan. We structure those to those that are ready to go into proposals. We efficiently award grants. We then enable them to accelerate growth with follow-on funding. The system on Odyssey allows us to manage claims and to verify claims in real time and ultimately make out payments for the subsidies. This 6-step process is very efficient. It's a very short window that allows us to quickly deploy funds and facilitate market access. I'll hand over to Martin, and I'll take on more comments later on in the conversation.
All right. A very good morning to you all. Martin Kavenge is my name. I'm an environmental and social management specialist at TDB, sitting within the sustainability division of the group. So today I'll provide a glimpse into how we manage or how the oversight on environment and social aspects is done at TDB. This is following our ESMS, that is the Environment and Social Management System. First of all, this system puts forward the obligations as well as the commitment that the bank has or the group has towards sustainable investments. So in this, we get to look at how each and every transaction gets to comply with these requirements. Likewise, once the transaction is on board, how we then get to monitor it through the cycle. What we have up here is a brief generally of the process itself, how we get to screen projects against the bank's exclusion list. For this particular case, looking at Ascent, we also have an Ascent-specific exclusion list. So we get to ensure that these potential transactions get to abide with this or are within the activities that are permitted. Then we get on to categorize them. For the higher risk category projects, we then have detailed due diligence. From the due diligence, the results that we get to inform what are the gaps or where are these points of improvement. And those points are then documented in the environmental and social action plans that are also part of the facility agreements that we have with our borrowers. And throughout the monitoring, we get to check in on the progress on these. How have they improved over time? Have they met these commitments within the time that was stipulated? And likewise, provide support where it's needed to meet this compliance. In Ascent, in particular, the way the project, earlier on in the project design and how it's structured, we are really looking at relatively low risk, medium to low risk kind of projects. The likes we have in DRE, clean cooking, as well as productive use of energy. So in this, we find that in most cases, we're within category 2 and 3, as indicated in this process. And for those projects, when we look at what they really trigger or the main aspects that they get to trigger, we have the environment and social management systems. That's looking at the policy as well as the procedures that these transactions or projects need to have in place to ensure compliance, as well as to ensure that safeguarding is done for the different aspects. Human resources, PS2, we get to see that much of what we have to deal with or have to manage or put safeguards in place is to deal with the labor and working conditions. This is looking at both the internal processes, the employees or workers for the project or organization, as well as the supply chain, making sure that along the supply chain, there is no incidences of forced labor or child labor or any others. We go as far as looking into sexual exploitation, abuse and harassment and the like, just to make sure all these safeguards are in place. Along with that, of course, how to deal with the waste or the waste management process that will come from, for example, when looking at the solar home systems, how batteries would be managed, how maybe 10, 25 years from now, when the panels reach their end of life, how this will also be managed. As well as a grievance redress mechanism. This is to the public, the clients, as well as all the other stakeholders or parties that are not necessarily covered within the internal processes. All right. Then looking at how we go about this process, post the due diligence in which we get to identify these areas of improvement, we then go ahead to work with our clients to make sure that these gaps are filled, or we get to support them. This, we have different approaches. What we do, or what is at the forefront, is utilization of technical assistance. That's to help and make sure that the necessary environment and social management procedures, as well as the policy, if at all it's not there, are in place. We also provide training to our clients. We also collaborate with our colleagues from the World Bank to provide training to both clients that are already onboarded, as well as those in the pipeline. And also, we have an avenue through ATP. This is courtesy of the World Bank and the Rockefeller Foundation, which are providing needed expertise to help bridge those gaps that have an urgent need. So with this, we get to also address where we would have delays to do with procurement and the like, as a readily available avenue to get to address any expertise needs. And just to conclude, our ESMS, the Environment and Social Management System, is a publicly available document on TDB's website, available to all our stakeholders and partners to access where the need is. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the TDB colleagues for giving us a wonderful introduction and overview to the Trade and Development Bank Group. We talked about the project and infrastructure finance, the SME lending, the Trade and Development Fund, and in particular the RBF programs. We heard about the environmental and social safeguards. And now what I'd like to do is to turn to our colleague James Macho, the country director for Zambia at Empower, to give us a sense of, first of all, what is Empower? What is it that you do? And where is your geographical footprint? And then if you could also tell us a little bit about the financing that you've received from TDB and how that has helped you grow as a company. We heard from Doreen that you started out in one country and now you're operating in 6. And so if you could guide us a little bit, give us an overview of Empower as a company, and then the financing that you received from TDB. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, James, my namesake. Just a brief introduction of Empower. We provide renewable energy solutions, mainly targeting the off-grid markets, majorly in the rural areas. We are relatively young. We started our operations in 2018, and Zambia was our first market. The first year, we were operating through a distributor, basically understanding the market and getting acceptance. And after 2 years, based on the trends, we established an office here as the first operation. And like mentioned, since then, we've grown into several countries, 3 in West Africa, including Ghana, Togo, and Cameroon. And Southern Africa, we are in Namibia. So that has been an evolution within a short period of time. In terms of what we do, our solutions range from the basic solar home systems and lamps, basically targeting the first users who are converting from other sources of energy, first users of renewable energy. That is a lamp and basic lighting, maybe phone charging. So that is the bulk of the solutions we give, and those are targeting the rural areas. With the support of TDB, like I'll be mentioning, we also diversified our product range and started including the productive use. And in those, we were targeting 4 main categories. The first one are the farmers, that we provide irrigation pumps, solar irrigation pumps. We have freezers that target the small shops that may be trading in products that are perishable. And then at a lower scale, we also have products for the women, that is sewing machines, electric sewing machines. These create employment in rural areas as they provide those services to the communities. They are clippers, and these target the youth in the rural areas. With about $70 equivalent, a youth is able to set up a business, and within 4 or 5 months, depending on the location, the payback is done. So we've seen that benefiting the communities in terms of those 4 major areas, the farmers, small businesses, women, and the youth. We also have an innovative solution that we call the Rural Energy Hubs. And what this does is that it is threefold. We set up a block of 3 rooms, and that becomes like the hub where we put solar panels, and that powers up a rural health center. So we give the rural health center that is totally off-grid, 24/7 electricity, and that enables them to store vaccines safely and basically conduct all the medical services all throughout. So that is the first benefit. The second benefit is at the hub itself. Because we have excess power, we use that excess power to provide additional services to the communities. Things like phone charging. We also provide freezing. Again, for employing people, we also provide barber services and salon. And in some areas, we are providing welding services and also tailoring services. So that is the second benefit of the Rural Energy Hub. And then the third one is, because these are deep rural areas far from the main towns, we also use it as a distribution point, whereby we put the solar home systems, and based on that, the deep rural customers are able to get our products in those areas. So we currently have about 23 rural energy hubs that are basically in southern province and northern province, and we are still constructing more. By the end of the year, we should have about 32 energy hubs. Feedback from the community is very positive because a lot of these services would otherwise take them almost 40 kilometers, 30 kilometers to travel just to get a basic service like saloon or photocopying and printing. We do that as well, or even freezing. So at the end of the day, it creates like a hub that improves economic activities within the area. Also to mention that we have digitalized our supply chain process. So digitally, we're able to have visibility of how our products are moving right from the sourcing to the entire supply chain, warehousing, and even monitoring what is happening down deep at customer level, at sales agent level. So in a summary, that describes what Empower is doing in Zambia. And of course, as we expand into other markets, we're replicating this into other markets as well. Talking about the support from TDB, as you're all aware, being a startup, the challenges of you don't have the credit history. So, but I'm glad to say that about 2 years ago, we became a beneficiary of TDB with a 2 million debt facility. And this accounts a lot for the growth that we've seen happening within the Empower operation. This was a working capital facility, and because of that, we were able to increase our inventory and thereby addressing the accessibility issue. And because of that, like I mentioned, when we started the operation, we were mainly on the small solar home systems, but with this facility that we got from TDB, we're able to diversify into productive use, and thereby giving more opportunity to the local communities to generate income. The third point is addressing the affordability challenge. Again, because of this facility, we're able to offer flexible payment terms, especially to the rural civil servants, like the teachers deep in the schools where there's no electricity, the nurses who are on payroll. We're able to give them the product, and the payment is done gradually from their salary. So that has helped us penetrate the rural areas and addressing that challenge of affordability. Then another important thing is the credibility we also got from being a partner of TDB. Because of that alone, when we're talking to other investors, they understand that by the time you are a partner to TDB, definitely you've gone through all those checks and balances, so that has enhanced our profile. And having said that, of course, the good working relationship, the team is willing to support, and they've also guided us in terms of the key areas that we should be looking at in terms of growing our business. Moving forward, I think there's still a huge opportunity in terms of addressing the needs, like we all mentioned. And one of the support areas we will still need, if possible, is definitely additional funding for Zambia and additional markets as well. If there's an opportunity for technical support, that would also be helpful, especially in terms of market expansion and any other business development areas. And then the third one is basically references. If we also get references, because TDB, like they mentioned, they're not in all the markets that we operate. So a reference from them to other funding institutions could be very helpful to us. So in a nutshell, I say that the funding gave us a big boost from just basic solar home systems to a variety of products and expansion to other markets. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Great, thanks so much, James. I think it's kind of gives a bit of an anchoring to hear directly from one of the borrowers of TDB about the impact that TDB financing can have. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to do almost like a rapid fire question round with our TDB panelists to give you, the audience, time to think of some interesting questions that you can pose to the brilliant people up on stage here today. So I'm going to go sort of one by one, and I'd like you to keep your answers brief while the audience has time to think of some of their questions. So Tarja, I'll start with you. When you look at TDB Group and its overall objectives as a regional development bank, how does the Ascent program align with those objectives? Basically, what is it that, that links sort of the Ascent program with the internal objectives and goals of the Trade and Development Bank Group?
Thank you, James. So core to our mandate is to deliver a sustainable development in the countries that we operate, and that includes inclusive growth, and energy is one of the priority sectors that we operate in. So this is really well aligned with our mandate, even to reach underserved markets and address market failure gaps through the concessional and grant funding that we receive from the Ascent, and also the capital, because we can only do as much as what we have. And capital has also been one of the things that has constrained our expansion in the markets that we serve. So receiving this additional financing from the World Bank has really been very instrumental in helping us to be able to deliver the impact that we are mandated to deliver by providing concessional funding to the markets that we operate in. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Tarja. I think that makes a lot of sense. So turning to Alfred now, when you look at some of the recent, let's say, larger scale transactions that TDB has successfully completed or maybe even currently evaluating in the DRE, the distributed renewable energy sector, what are some of the sort of unique financing needs that you're seeing coming out of this sector? And what are some of the lending solutions? I mean, you mentioned some of the innovative things that TDB is doing. What are some of those innovative solutions that you are applying to the DRE space?
All right, thank you very much, James. I think I will touch upon something that James from Empower mentioned. And it's how do we finance scale? How do we finance expansion into new markets, development of new products? Because the financing solution and structures I've shared around, say, working capital that we've supported some of our clients the growth is limited to the size of your portfolio. So how do we support expansion into a new market that requires financing to establish the infrastructure, the last mile distribution network, which requires more capital and more equity financing and even patient capital. So I think we need to take a holistic picture in terms of approaching the issue of scalability. Starting from the issue of equity, having strong equity partners, issues around how we can use catalytic grants to enter new markets, to develop new products, issues around using concessional financing to lower the cost of capital to enable this the expansion. So I think the approach is multifaceted, and we need the capital stack in each of these categories.
Yeah, great. I think that sort of expansion into new markets and helping companies grow is something that really resonates with this Ascent conference. The idea that this is a regional program and we're really striving for growth across the region at an accelerated pace. So Doreen, you know, you and I were talking yesterday about SMEs, right? And it's this really exciting, kind of interesting space to be working in. And SMEs are often the economic driver of countries in the region. They're powering job growth. They're powering, you know, the rural economies. What are some of the unique challenges that you are seeing in the SME space in the distributed renewable energy sector? And how can TDB sort of help address those challenges that these SMEs are facing?
Thank you, James. You're right. It is indeed an exciting area, but of course, one with many challenges. So I'll just say a few challenges and how we're dealing with them. I think the first one is still readiness, right? A lot of these SMEs have been just bootstrapping for a couple of years before they come to us. So they are not exactly packaged in a way that you can easily invest in them. So relying on partners that are offering technical assistance, any capacity building, you know, from the countries, from the communities, just to have those, to get those SMEs a bit ready so that when they come to us, we can look at them favorably. The other challenge is the FX. Our debt is dollar denominated. And of course, we know that the SMEs are earning local currency when they're selling these DRE products. So there's a bit of a mismatch, and they still need to service our loans, which are in dollars. So we're doing more partnering with local commercial banks that may have large balance sheets in local currency, and we need to be solutioning more in that area. The other part is pricing. Of course, SMEs need favorable pricing, and ideally they would pass those savings along to the end user so that the DRE products are more affordable. The way we're looking at that challenge is really blending with different forms of finance, with different interest rates, to make sure that we offer a favorable price to the SMEs. And then lastly, some of these SMEs have kind of an over-reliance on grants. So by the time they get to us, they've been just using grants. They're not really sustainable. And they need equity injection before they can get debt financing from us. So that's why that vehicle that we mentioned, Taja mentioned, Zafiri, is exciting, because we'll be able to put in equity investments early on before they come to us for debt financing. Thank you, James.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Doreen. I mean, it's all part of this comprehensive financial package: the debt, the equity, the technical assistance, and also the grants. And so maybe let me use that to segue to a question for Andrew on the RBF. So Andrew, right, is managing the RBF program under Ascent Reef, but then also the RBF program for Sudan. If you could give us just maybe one key challenge that you faced when you were either designing or implementing these RBF programs, and then balancing that with one of the sort of key opportunities or benefits that this program can bring to the market.
Thanks, James. I tend to focus on the opportunities. I think that every scenario will always present challenges. I think for us, the blessing is that we've gone all in to learn along the way. And from the first RBF, we are super improving on the second RBF. For us, the key opportunities, and let me paint a picture. Take this rural Mozambican woman, 600 kilometers out of Nampula, who runs a grass-thatched restaurant and does sell between 8 a.m. and 4:30 or 5. And because of the access of a solar home system, she has a light, a chargeable point, which is taken from a company in Nampula, and is now able to sell more. But her biggest challenge is then, I want to be able to cool. I want to be able to freeze. So I can sell more sodas, I can sell more juice, but I cannot afford the solar fridge. The solar home system is much more affordable, so we're talking about affordability. And the fridge is way up, one level up. If you ask her to pay cash, she'll not be able to. The RBF, in my view, brings in the ability to blend, to catalyze, crowd in, and scale. And so when we look at the RBF, we look at it as a complementing instrument that opens up markets for debt to work. So ultimately, while we have all these commercial instruments, if we don't innovate by blending appropriately, then we can't actually do more lending. We'll still have more people funded around Nampula, but in line with M300, we'll leave so many behind. So the opportunity in the RBF is really to then push this early stage money to this DRA company out of Nampula to bring in PUE, test it for 2-3 years, get the numbers, crowd in the capacity, increase the capacity to pay, because now this lady can sell more and she's earning liquidity, and you wean her off the grant slowly to be able to afford the credit. And by doing so, then Alfred and Doreen lend more. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll see that catalytic effect. We'll look at it as your upstream to downstream pathway to be able to crowd in more and bring more people onto the grid, especially those who see wires passing up their compounds but cannot tap onto that grid. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. So last question for our panel up here, and then I hope we have time for maybe one question. I'm looking at the MC. Great. So we'll have time for maybe two very, very brief questions from the audience. So Martin, you presented the sort of ENS process, and in particular for the Ascent program. But I also know that TDB is kind of putting in place some innovative elements and innovative tools on the ENS side. Can you give us an example of one of those sort of ENS tools or processes that you're implementing as part of the Ascent program?
Sure, thank you, James. So straight away from the project design, we focused on the DRE, PUE, as well as clean cooking, which presents relatively small or medium to low level risk in terms of ENS. What we then went ahead to do was customize our guidance tools. We have a particular guidance note that speaks to DRE and clean cooking. And in this, we get to capture the key aspects that we need to assess when it comes to the triggered environment and social aspects. So by using these checklists, we get to get through the process a bit faster, and also ensuring that we capture the main items that need to be provided for these particular projects. Of course, along with that, we have the training component for which we do provide training to our clients, even as we are supporting them through TA to develop these tools and procedures. We also have to go, on the other hand, provide that support. How do you get to implement this policy, this procedure, or these checklists that have also been cascaded down to you, as opposed, of course, to, just giving them documents to go on by. So those are some of the ways we've gone about it, ensuring that both our clients, likewise their supply chain, are also in the loop are looped in into what they need to compete. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Martin, and thanks again to the TDB colleagues. I think if you could raise your hand, or maybe use the microphone in front of you. There's a question. I saw a lady with the hand in the back. Any chance to ship a microphone? I'll run you to the rescue.
Bonjour à tous, je suis Laetitia de la République démocratique du Congo. Permettez-moi de poser ma question en français, ce sera plus clair. Alors, j'ai bien aimé la présentation autour des questions de sauvegarde environnementale et sociale. La première que j'ai, j'en ai 4. La première question que j'ai, c'est concernant la gestion des déchets. Est-ce que je peux tout résumer en ligne? Bon, la question est de savoir plus clairement, est-ce qu'il y a des fonds spécifiques en termes d'assistance technique dans la gestion des déchets par rapport à ce qui a été dit tout à l'heure? Quelle est la hauteur de ces fonds? Est-ce que c'est inclus dans les subventions ou il y a vraiment des fonds spécifiques pour les aspects de gestion de déchets? Et qu'est-ce qui se passe si le pays n'a pas un bon système de gestion de déchets? Comment sont-ils gérés? Et est-ce qu'il y a un mécanisme de traçabilité des déchets issus des technologies promues? Merci.
Thanks very much, Letitia. So the question is around waste management, and in particular, if there's additional funding available or if it's part of the package that's made available to companies. So I think this is kind of a question for Martin, but then maybe also the TDB group, that trying to understand about waste management, the traceability, if that's something that you're looking at, and if there's additional funding sort of available, or if that's part of the funding package that you expect companies to bear that cost, either using TDB financing or leveraging funding from other sources for waste management.
All right, thank you. Thank you for this question. So looking at waste management, ordinarily we've gone about it looking at what's available within the national system. So we find that in most cases, there is the National Environment Management Authority or Protection Authority, but the agency in charge of environment protection. So they do have programs that certify waste handlers or service providers within the waste management stream. So for our clients, we always encourage them and require them to have certified waste handlers that do provide these services to them. This goes across looking at both the domestic waste that can be coming from their office operations onto e-waste that can come from their repair centers, their warehouses, and the like. So in this, we make sure we're not necessarily creating another stream, but working within the system and what's available for our clients to work with. Looking at the funding, what I've seen is much of this cost is also integrated within the operation costs of these projects. For example, when you see the solar home systems, we will have costs related to disposal of batteries a little bit earlier, and then much later on in the cycle, you'll see an integration of disposal of the solar panels because those take much longer. So generally, this has to be integrated and work within the systems that are available as opposed to creating something else. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for just one more question. I see a hand already up. Please try to keep your question brief, and I'll ask my panelists to do the same.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to find out from TDB for a country-ready initiatives like Malawi, we have the Ngwengwengwe Fund, which is also scaling up off-grid initiatives. How could your lending window complement such country-ready?
Sorry, we're having a hard time hearing you on stage. If you could speak a little bit louder.
Okay, are you able to hear me now? Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now. I was saying for country-ready initiatives, like the Off-Grid Market Development Fund in Malawi, the Ngwengwengwe Fund, I just want to find out from TDB how their lending window can complement such initiatives. I also want to get a little bit more details on how their local financing can be, for example, accessed in a country like Malawi. Now, to empower Africa, they have also talked about, generating, revenue from excess energy. I also just want to find out if they are to monetize enough energy to meet the cost of operation, cost for the energy hubs. Thank you.
It sounded like there was a question for TDB on how the TDB lending can complement the national programs, and then a quick question for Empower on your hubs. Okay.
Thank you for the question. I can answer part of it. So I didn't hear the initiative you mentioned, but we know there's the Ngwengwengwe initiative in Malawi. So what the companies that then come to us will probably have already benefited from the local initiatives, from what's available locally, and then they come to us for either larger ticket sizes or for add-on so that they can scale. And then the question you asked about working with local partners, I'll give you an example of an instrument that we use called a guarantee. So in that case, a local financial institution or local bank would avail the financing, and then we place a guarantee with them to say that, which forms part of the collateral that the SME needs to unlock that local financing. So we've used guarantees in a few countries, and they have worked well for us in that regard.
Okay, on the issue of the energy hubs, one thing I didn't mention is that it's partly supported by grant. And then secondly, the additional services that we offer are able to provide income for the maintenance of the hub. So that income that comes through does all the maintenance, the replacement of all those productive use elements. So the income is able to suffice for the maintenance. Maybe one thing I didn't mention is that in terms of catchment areas, it's an average of 3,000 to 5,000 community members that benefit from those services. And also just topping up on the impact of TDB in terms of the small businesses and farmers we've supported, about over 2,000, and in terms of homesteads, about 8,000. I just forgot to mention that, but that is one of the benefits that we've seen coming through the TDB funding. Yeah.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much, Tarja, Alfred, Doreen, Andrew, Martin, and thank you all of you. Please join me in a warm thanks to the TDB panel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that very insightful session in terms of presentation and also in terms of panel discussion. So it was very useful, and I think the team from the Trade and Development Bank is here. If you have further questions, also you can also still ask them. So let me thank you very much, Mr. James, and also your team and the team from the bank for this very insightful session in terms of presentation and also panel discussion. So I think there is a group photo, and then before that also, I would like to invite Madam Dr. Alona to come and to also introduce to you one app, and then we go for lunch. So before, as we wait for Alona to come, let us have a group photo. Have you finished from the group photo? Okay, you can go. Okay. So now, Dr. Alona, please come and introduce that app, and then we can go for lunch. Okay, thank you. So over to you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to quickly remind that for the event, we do have the networking app, and I would like to ask the team to display the slide on the screen. So based on the QR code that you see right now on the screen, you can get access to the app and download that. Additionally, on the badges, you have the QR code where you can see the agenda. This is also the QR code to the app. Once you scan, you would need to download that. In the app, once it's downloaded, you need to search for the Ascent Week in the section Find Event. Once you found the Ascent Week, you need to sign in using the email address that you have used for the registration form. So in case if you have any questions or issues, there is a CAMESA team here. Colleagues, can you please stand up so that the participants can see you? Yes. In case of any questions regarding the app, if you have issues with accessing the app, you can reach out to the CAMESA colleagues and they would be happy to assist you and help. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alona, for that. And actually, it is a coffee break. So we can give 15 minutes. Go have that break. And also, as you go outside, there is a booth down there.